I've done far more with the observed stupidities of my professors than I could have ever done with their knowledge. Look at this. Someone put a question mark on Shakespeare's face. More footnotes, better footnotes, longer footnotes. How about, instead of trying to be so original and going to the library and spending all these hours trying to find support material and come up with brand new ideas, I was instead to just repeat back to each teacher whatever each teacher said in class. Just turn off my brain and parrot back to the teacher whatever the teacher thought. Well, what I'd been doing wasn't working. Try it, see what happens. So that next term, I just listened in class. And every time the teacher expressed an opinion, I wrote down that opinion. And when it came to writing a paper, I wrote a paper expressing that same opinion. And that term, I got straight A's. In every course. Thank you. In every paper. Yes, that was easy. What was really nice is I didn't have to prove anything. The teacher already thought what I was writing was his or her idea. I hardly had to back anything up. I really didn't even have to understand what I was saying. My first year, I worked like a dog. I went to the library, spent all these hours and endless footnotes, but now, regurgitating the prof's ideas took almost no thought at all. In fact, thought got in the way. I decided to keep doing what was working and develop it further. I not only wrote down each teacher's opinions, I started writing down each teacher's expressions. One of my teachers, when he wanted to say someone or somebody, he would say, some poor soul. Like instead of saying, oh, there's someone at the door, he would say, oh, there's some poor soul at the door. I got an appointment with him to make sure I'd correctly written down his opinions. And while I was talking to him, I inserted into the conversation, some poor soul. He paused. He looked at me quizzically. But then he smiled. Maybe he sensed what I was doing, maybe he didn't. But either way, I could tell he liked it. I got another A. I got nothing but A's for the rest of that year. And for the rest of my McGill years, I continued parroting back unoriginal ideas to whatever poor soul professor I had. And I never got less than A again. It worked! Yes, I learned that universities aren't what they're cracked up to be, but I was none the worse for it. Was I? Was there a cause to all this inept teaching I witnessed? Oh, come on, if there was, well, what could it be? The answer actually came from Shakespeare. Not the works, the biography. You know, there's over 900,000 words in Shakespeare's plays and poems, and every last one of those words in their original form is lost. Isn't that something you would tell a theater student? Seems to me a doctor, theater, PhD, lover of wisdom should know this. Like I know a lot of theater facts. For example, the ancient Greek playwright Aeschylus was killed when an eagle dropped a turtle on his bald head. How come I know that fact and not this about Shakespeare? There are times in a person's life when one gets so angry, so furious, so murderously enraged that there's only one thing that person can do. And that's write and perform a one-man show. You have to understand, people back then, they had bigger brains than we do today. And bigger heads to put them in. And really all that was necessary was a grammar school education. Or no education. It really is just imagination. Shakespeare imagined information. It all just popped into his head, he wrote it all down, and then he made it all magically disappear. Well, that's why there's not a single document from Shakespeare's lifetime connecting him to the works. His works, they were like spirits. They melted into air, into thin air. These people and others contact me, trying to convince me that their particular candidate wrote the works of Shakespeare. I'm not a believer in any alternate candidate. I just hold the radical, extreme position that students should be allowed to hear both sides of the debate. And they're not. There is no Shakespeare authorship question. This is settled academic thought. The question can no longer be asked, we've answered it for you. And ever since, anyone who's even suggested the heresy that the man from Stratford did not write the works of Shakespeare has been called a crackpot. Trust us. We're the experts. We're the authorities. Shakespeare was no longer an actor, a theater manager, or even a supposed poet and playwright. Shakespeare had become divine. And Stratford-upon-Avon was his shrine. Only a crackpot would suggest otherwise. And that is how I became a Shakespeare crackpot. There is no Shakespeare authorship question. This is settled academic thought. Only a crackpot would suggest otherwise.